And
we
we
on?
are back.
Yeah, we're back on, huh?
Mhm.
Wow, you're on my other side right
I'm
now.
on your other side.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Closer to
That's
the heart.
yeah.
Closer to the
Oh my
heart.
gosh, yeah. Wow, it's good to be back. It's just really good to be back. How are you doing now?
I'm doing better.
You're
I'm
doing
doing
better?
better. I'm
Yeah.
getting excited actually.
Wow,
Mhm.
excitement is good.
Excitement is
Excitement
always
is
good.
good.
In the midst of lots of things, to be excited is important. You're gonna find at least one thing to be excited about, no matter what.
All right.
Don't you think?
All right. I
And
think
that's the
so.
whole thing about getting started something. It's
Yeah.
like, the last thing you want to do is to do something unfamiliar, but then you start on something and it just suddenly becomes an exciting thing.
Well, I'll let you know a few things. I mean, um, I was married, and it was a sad story. It still messes me up a little bit, but she's dead. And again, that's another story. But her name was Kathleen, and Kathleen around our little house had all these gardens in the forest, and the gardens were just absolutely gorgeous. And she worked in the garden, and one day I asked her the question. I said, you know, what's it like to work in the garden? Talk to me about the garden. And Kathleen said, well, I don't know. And I said, no, really, tell me about the garden. And she looked at me and she said, John, the hardest part about gardening is getting out the front door. I said, wow. And she would be lost in the garden for 2, 3, 4 hours. I would go and say, Kathleen, are we going to have dinner? And she said, well, what time is it? I tell her the time. And she said, oh, I lost track of time.
Mhm.
And what I learned from her is the hardest part about gardening is just jumping in, getting started. And I think that that's the way it is.
Mhm.
The hardest part is jumping in. But once I jump in, everything falls into place. It's like a parade. And I stay with that. And it's absolutely incredible what begins to happen. But it's kind of like on me to jump in and get started.
Mhm.
That calls me to pay attention. And all of a sudden, to this day, there's incredible beauty out in those gardens. She just stayed present and watched and
Mhm.
then acted.
Mhm. We started this conversation as we were discussing starting the YouTube channel and how many things we were considering to be the barriers, and maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, just because, it sounds too complicated. Well, and here we are,
Yeah,
jumped in.
it all shows up. And that's the magic, I think, of creation. You jump in, you do nothing more than pay attention, and everything that you need starts to show up. And it's quite the show.
It's quite the show, and someone at the door. So we're gonna have to come back to you with more stories.